ELA classes, welcome back. It's Monday, May 11th. Hope everyone had a great Mother's Day weekend. We are going to begin today as we really get to the stretch run of our work together this year in ELA. We're going to work today towards taking our first step into our last major writing assignment of the year, and it's one that students really enjoy writing. It is the movie review. It's going to take a lot of our argument, essay work from throughout the year, and create kind of a fun spin on it where you take a movie you either love or hate and write a really passionate, opinionated, emotional movie review around it. It is one that eighth graders have really enjoyed writing the past couple of years, so we're going to keep that rolling this year and finish strong with our virtual learning work in this class. So, Monday, May 11th, Intro to a Movie Review. Let's start as always with our module and our announcements page. As we jump in here, 511 announcements. Welcome back. The movie review work begins today. Here's our checklist. You're going to watch this video from start to finish and how to use the DEEP acronym to find the elements of a movie review. So our first step today is figuring out what is in a movie review. What's the content? What's the substance of a great review? Please watch this video from start to finish. I'm going to explain how to use an acronym effectively to analyze a professional review, and I will model the steps behind that. So don't neglect to watch the whole entirety of this video. It might be closer to 18, 19 minutes, but it's vital for you to understand what to do independently, just like I've been modeling in front of you in the classroom. So please stick with me. After you watch the mini lesson video, you are going to choose one of the movie review options here at this link and complete today's assignment titled Deep Movie Review Dive 511. Deep dive with the acronym, see what I did there, based on the review that you chose. So if I click on this link here, it will load 8 different professional movie review options. Everything from movies we've seen in class like Dead Poets and Black Panther and Great Debaters to really popular films like Jurassic World and Twilight. Some of these reviews are positive, some are negative. So if you're aiming to choose a movie that you love, you may want to read a positive one. If you want to choose a movie to review that you despise, that could be equally, if not more funny, humorous. You can use things like sarcasm and wit and snark in this. So maybe you go in that direction. That might be fun. You're going to choose one of the reviews that's more negative to give you a negative example. So it's completely up to you which you'd like to pick. So you're going to click on that. And based on this assignment here, which you will see posted on Google Docs like we've done with everything else in this class as we've moved online, you're going to fill out a chart that I will model for you in a moment based on that review that you chose here. This will all make a ton more sense when you see it in a second. Lastly, complete today's exit ticket by Wednesday by posting your movie choice on the new discussion board linked here. So at this link, you are going to post what movie that you chose. What is your selection? And the reason why I'd like you to do it on the discussion board is maybe a close friend in class that you have sees the movie that you chose, sounds intriguing to them too, and they watch the same thing that you do. Again, that might be enjoyable to be able to kind of exchange ideas with a classmate on what to put in your review and some elements of it that you either liked or disliked. Live optional sessions, as always, here if you're struggling, and the week at a glance as follows. Tomorrow we'll be working on how to take organized notes as you watch your film. Catch up day Wednesday in case you've fallen behind. Thursday, more about the structure as we plan out what our review is going to look like. And then Friday, we begin actually writing it with a strong hook or intro. But today, it's all about content and understanding what is included in a movie review. The mini lesson will also be posted here, as always. And now the all-important application activity as I go through the module. As I said before, you're going to choose one of these options up here. That link will take you right here to your 8 different possibilities. Read that through start to finish. Then, you are going to complete today's assignment titled Deep Movie Review Dive 511. Here you will find the important content of the movie review you chose based on the DEEP acronym. You might be asking yourself, what is the DEEP acronym? Well, I've got it right here. This first link, reminder of the DEEP acronym, can be found here. So if I click this, this would be like a glue in if we were in class. These are the 4 different parts of a strong movie review in terms of the content of it, what is included in it. A good movie review does all 4 of these things. Number 1, it describes the movie. You don't want to give away the ending, you don't want to describe everything, but a brief summary or synopsis of the film is important to include in a movie review to give the reader an understanding of whether they want to see it or not. So you might reveal what the setting is, who are some of the main characters and the actors who play them, what are some of the vital scenes, especially early on in the film, that sets the tone. There's a little bit of a description there too. So don't neglect that and look out for that in the movie review that you choose to read. Evaluate. Evaluate is where the opinion comes in. This is where the movie reviewer does his or her job. They critique and give their opinion on the choices the director makes, like plot sequencing or things like here, cinematography. Are the camera shots and angles strong? Are the clothing and the dress believable? Casting. Were the right actors picked for these roles? Was the acting of quality? How was the script and the dialogue? So they critique these things. It's not just describe, it's also evaluate, but you also want to entertain. That's where this comes in. You want to be emotional. You want to sell the reader on whether you loved, hated the movie, or somewhere in between. So you might make personal connections to maybe you've experienced it. Let's say you're watching a war movie. Maybe the movie reviewer has a history of fighting in the military, and so they can bring their own personal experiences to the movie review that they're writing. Maybe they use sarcasm and wit and snark, using rhetorical questions and things that might provide a chuckle for the reader. Entertaining is just as important as anything because it keeps the reader wanting to read the movie review and make it an enjoyable experience. And lastly, provide context. This is where the author of the movie review shows their credibility. What I mean by that is you don't want just Joe Schmo writing about a movie to decide whether you're going to see it or not. You don't want someone just that has no experience in film. You want someone who's seen a lot of movies and knows exactly what it takes to make a great movie to decide whether it's of quality or not. So an example that might make sense with this is let's say the movie reviewer is writing a film based on a interpretation of a Shakespeare play into a movie like Romeo and Juliet. If the movie reviewer begins by saying, I've seen 5 or 6 different Shakespeare interpretations into movies. I've seen Midsummer Night's Dream and The Tempest and Hamlet. I know what a great Shakespeare interpretation looks like. That gives them more credibility to evaluate Romeo and Juliet, doesn't it? So a little bit of background on the critic gives you some of their experience and their expertise, gives them more credibility. They also might provide some background on the director or the actors that are involved, right? So maybe Leonardo DiCaprio's in Romeo and Juliet. Has he done Shakespeare before? If he has, maybe the movie reviewer includes that. So long story short, this DEEP acronym is very helpful to understanding what is all involved in providing a strong and detailed movie review, the content of what makes a great movie review. Okay, so our goal today is to look at the professional review that you chose through the lens of DEEP. And that's exactly what you will do here. So just like we've done with all of our charts, if you click on your class link, so if I'm in Core 1, I'll click this. It'll open up to your document where you're going to take notes on the review that you chose to read. Now, if I should click on Core 1 here, it's going to take me to a document that looks just like this, with the 4 parts of DEEP and a place in the right column to take some notes. Let's say I chose Jurassic World. I would type in Jurassic World up here first. I did Call of the Wild. That's why I put that. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to read my review, in this case Call of the Wild, and stop and take some notes on where I see each of these parts of the DEEP acronym contained within the review. Okay? So here's my Call of the Wild review as I scroll to the top from Hollywood Reporter. It seems like we saw this at Fox Bay years ago, doesn't it? It was only February. But what I'm going to do is read through each paragraph. Maybe I won't read the whole thing to all of you right now. That's going to take a while. But maybe the first third of the review. And I'm going to stop after each paragraph and ask myself, in that paragraph, does the movie reviewer have any of these parts of DEEP within that paragraph? Do they describe, evaluate, entertain, and provide context within that paragraph? And if they do, I'm going to put down in that right column a quick bullet point of where and what it is. So let me model for you a couple of these as we go through. First paragraph. This is more of a subheading. Harrison Ford and his CGI-generated dog star in the latest screen adaptation of Jack London's classic 1903 adventure novel. Let's keep going. There have been movie adaptations of Jack London's classic 1903 novel, The Call of the Wild, dating as far back as a silent 1923 version. Cinematic treatments continued in the 1930s with an adaptation starring Clark Gable and Loretta Young, and subsequent versions have had lead actors that included Charlton Heston and Rutger Hauer. All of these films have at least one thing in common: they starred a real tame dog. That's a great opening paragraph for a couple of reasons. Number one, it gives you right away sort of like the thesis or main point of the review, which is that he does not like the CGI dog at all. He wants a real dog playing the part of Buck. So right there within the first paragraph, we have an evaluate, don't we? Author does not like the CGI generated dog compared to the real ones. Right away, a negative critique of the movie. But also within this paragraph, the movie reviewer decides it's important to give a description of different Call of the Wild films. Now, this is based on a book, but there have been films that go back to 1923, 1930s. So why is the movie reviewer stating this? Well, they want to show their credibility. They want to show you, this movie reviewer wants to show you that he has seen these different versions and the new one does not stand up. The older ones are better. And so, this reviewer is providing context. Author has seen what a good Call of the Wild movie looks like based on the ones from the 1920s and 1930s. This reviewer isn't going into this blind. He or she has done their research. They know what a good Call of the Wild movie looks like. They've seen the originals. And this one doesn't appear like it stands up. So it adds more credibility to the reviewer knowing that they've done their homework, doesn't it? Let's keep going to the next paragraph. Such, unfortunately, is not the case for the latest version, starring Harrison Ford as a good-hearted prospector, John Thornton, who forms a bond during the Yukon Gold Rush with a St. Bernard Scotch Collie canine named Buck. In a blow to animal employment in the acting profession, Buck, who boasts the vast majority of the on-screen time, is played not by one or more actual dogs, but rather Terry Notary, a very human performer. A very human former Cirque du Soleil performer who delivers a motion capture performance. Such is also the case with the many other dogs and other animals shown, giving this Call of the Wild a similar feel to such recent Disney photorealistic animated films as The Jungle Book and The Lion King. It is not surprising that the film marks the live-action debut of director Chris Sanders, whose previous credits include Lilo and Stitch, How to Train Your Dragon, and The Cruise. All right, lot to take in here. Are there any parts of the DEEP acronym within this paragraph? Well, the first sentence describes what the movie's about, doesn't it? Gives the main character's name, the actor that plays him, and then what the main character does with the dog. Perfect. So that's going to go up and describe, isn't it? Where does the author describe what's happening? Well, author describes John Thornton and his canine Buck exploring the Yukon Gold Rush. It doesn't really give away anything what happens in the movie, but just gives you a brief synopsis of some of the main parts. Really basic. And then what else in this paragraph? Well, it describes a little bit of the director's background, Chris Sanders. You are going to want to know the director of your movie that you watch, by the way. And the reason why the reviewer chose to include this, I think, is to show that the director has experience with animation, and that may be why he chose to use a CGI dog rather than a real dog. And so that's providing some context, some background on the director. Director Chris Sanders has experience with animation. And that is why the CGI dog was chosen. That is the director's area of expertise, so it's no coincidence that he would go in that direction, right? Good. Let's do a couple more. Now we're right here. The results are visually disorienting, to say the least. Although Notary and the special effects team do as good of a job as technology allows, the expressive Buck never quite looks real, and you keep expecting him and the rest of the animals to burst into song. Okay, this seems like an evaluate paragraph, right? There are some very clear words that show that the movie's being criticized, right? such as the results are visually disorienting and the expressive buck never quite looks real, right? Those are opinions from the reviewer. So under entertain, author states, argues that the results are, quote, visually disorienting, and buck, quote, never quite looks real. That's word for word from the review, so I'll put those in quotes. On the other hand, it might have been a reasonable approach, since this version, scripted by Michael Green, takes considerable liberties with the source material and significantly ups the danger and spectacle. The buck in this film isn't just a fearless, stout-hearted dog. He also engages in a daring underwater rescue in a frozen river and even outruns an avalanche. Apparently, the creators felt that London's Tale was not exciting enough, although it has been delighting readers for more than a century. So another critique here. You'd think that the reviewer would like the danger and spectacle, but no. He doesn't like that the director added things to what's already a classic book. So, author doesn't like the director adding, exaggerated danger scenes to what is already a classic book. Awesome. Last paragraph. None of this may matter to the young audiences to whom the pick is obviously aimed, but more discerning viewers will wince at how everything has been exaggerated to comic proportions, both intentional and not. In the early scenes depicting Buck's spoiled life in the household of a prosperous family headed by Judge Miller, Bradley Whitford is a little more than a cameo, he wreaks a sort of slapstick havoc that would have caused Beethoven to hang his head in shame. All right, so here, this is a reference you kind of have to get. Beethoven is a dog in movies in the 1990s, kind of silly, humorous uh, children's comedies where this dog named Beethoven gets into a bunch of hijinks. And so what the author's saying here, and is trying to get a chuckle out of you, is that this scene was so silly that even Beethoven would have rolled his eyes and hung his head in shame. A dog known for its silliness would have even thought this was silly and ridiculous. And that's kind of meant to add some humor, sort of a joke to the review, lighten the mood a bit. And so that falls under entertain. A little humor, wit, and sarcasm. So author says that even the silly dog Beethoven would think the opening scene. Okay, not the composer, by the way, the dog. So I'm going to stop there, but you can see just in the first few paragraphs, I was able to capture all 4 parts of the DEEP acronym. Your job is to do the same. So after you pick out which review that you're going to review, which review that you're going to reflect on and analyze its content, you're going to, after you read it over, start to break it down just like I did with Call of the Wild in this DEEP acronym chart. And you will see a copy made for you on your Google account. You click on that link under your class, it'll open up right for you. It should be pretty straightforward. Hoping to make this as easy for you as possible to find things. Then lastly, if you do know what movie you're going to do, today's exit ticket is posting your movie choice on the class discussion board here. So if you know what you're going to do, it'll take you to the discussion board, and under reply, I'd like you to try to hit on these 3 bullet points. Share with your classmates by the end of the day, Tuesday or early Wednesday, the title of the movie you're going to watch and review, a little bit on why you chose it, and then optional, who in the class would you recommend it to? If you think someone in your core class would like this movie too, you may say, I really think that Mr. Rayflab would like The Sandlot, something like that. And maybe they see that, like, oh, I think I would. I like that description of it. I want to watch the same movie as so-and-so. And they might choose it too. Building a little more community. That's it for today. Hope everyone has a great Monday. We're back tomorrow with how to take organized notes as you're watching a movie, because after all, a good movie reviewer has that notepad in their hand and they're in the theater watching the movie, scribbling down their thoughts as it goes. So I'll show you how to do that tomorrow. If anyone has any questions, shoot me an email or hop into my Google Hangout times, and I will be happy to lead you on the right track. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day, and we'll talk soon.